rather evening, everyone. We are members of Tairāwhiti Environment Youth and School Strike for Climate here in Gisborne. We are the Rangatahi of Gisborne and the generation that will feel the effects of climate change the most as we grow up in a deteriorating environment. We are already seeing the dangerous and devastating effects of climate change around the world every single day, but watch as people brush off this issue as a purely political debate. As the research presented today clearly proves, it is far beyond that. The effects of climate change are going to be disastrous, this we know, and this fear of growing up to live on a planet that is polluted and dying is our motivator to stand up as activists of climate action. We held 3 successful strikes last year, with our September 27th strike having around 400 attendees in Gisborne and 170,000 nationally. This was a massive win for the environmentalist community, with a sense of euphoria felt as we watched 3.5% of New Zealand's population mobilise in solidarity for climate action. Alongside these protests, we organised a petition urging the Gisborne District Council to declare a climate emergency. Our petition reached 1,275 signatures at the time of presentation. Even with these large numbers, the GDC rejected our petition for the second time, choosing only to formally acknowledge that climate change is a significant issue for Tairāwhiti. This appalling result marked a disappointing end to our year of activism. In order to uphold the IPCC's recommendation of staying below 1.5 degrees of global warming, we must decrease our national emissions by over half in the next decade. We therefore see the actions of the GDC as regional lawmakers as simply not good enough in the state of emergency we are in. The Council still regards economic growth and income at a higher priority than the protection of our environment. We understand that there isn't always the resources available and the process can't be perfect, but the science is clear. Change needs to happen, and it needs to happen now, even if it will result in less economic growth for the region or economy. The pollution and degradation of our environment has to be above any one person's agenda, and instead needs to be at the forefront of everyone's thoughts and minds. Investing in sustainable processes and practices safeguards the future of the country's economic endeavours as well as our treasured taonga, our children. We are disappointed in the lack of action by a majority of our leaders. We recognise that the GDC does help protect our environment. However, we feel like the issue isn't being recognised with as much weight and importance as that is needed to provide us rangatahi with a strong and healthy environment to grow up in, and one we continue to have the same strong and healthy environment for our children and grandchildren. What they don't seem to understand is that not doing enough actually results in our environment becoming even more polluted than it is now. It has bigger consequences than an economic downturn. It means droughts, famine, disease, natural disasters, and more detrimental effects, the magnitude of which we don't yet know. We demand proper leadership from the Council. We demand to see a Council which actively aims to constantly do more for climate change. Proper leadership looks like more than just a hollow statement supporting climate action without actually acting. We demand that the Council declares a climate emergency and takes the proper steps needed to protect our environment.
While the Council has a massive role to play in climate action in the Tairāwhiti region, leadership also needs to be taken from corporations and firms to reduce emissions and reach our targets. Firms need to take action and introduce initiatives which aim for a reduction in environmental damage, while also supporting staff and consumers in their journey towards becoming more environmentally friendly. This could be as simple as adding places to lock up bikes at the workplace, or adding showers that employees can arrive to work and freshen up after walking or cycling. Or aiming to use more environmentally friendly materials or renewable energy in the production and distribution processes. Firms have a massive role to play in climate action and must be held accountable for a lack of action towards a carbon neutral society. Globally, firms are not being held accountable for their actions which pollute the planet. Often the blame is turned back into consumers who are not fully to blame. Firms also must stop capitalising off the trend of environmentalism which has grown in recent years. They must invest more in sustainable methods instead of just the greenwashing for publicity. We as the general public also have our part to play in climate action. An important part of our action is education. First, informing yourself with accurate and relevant information, and then informing those around you. This leads to a community of well-informed people and results in a better understanding of the situation around us and what we can do to change and improve it. This education begins with the information, research, and discussions shared at events like these. It also depends on all of you to take what you have learned today and share it with those around you, increasing the awareness and understanding of these issues within our community. More importantly, this cycle of education, action, and change relies on the actions you take and the changes you make as a result of events like this. Future generations are dependent on the people of today to make decisions that are in the best interest of our planet. The Earth is sending us clear messages about the dangerous path we are on, and we need to listen and take strong action. We can all be leaders within our own communities and our own spaces and to aid in climate action. This can involve a simple change from single-use items to reusables, learning more about recycling and composting, using less energy and consuming less in general. In our society, it's easy to get into the habit of consuming and always needing more and more. It is what we have been trained to do by companies looking for money and by trends, this is all a difficult habit to break. It's almost impossible to master because we all want things. But this way we are able to save money and our environment. And it teaches us to be more fulfilled with what we have and improve our environment. It is important for us to note that this level of environmentalism also often comes from a position of privilege. Often items that are better for the environment are more expensive, making it harder for those with lower incomes to engage. This is why we believe that change is needed at the highest level the most. While we as consumers can make small changes, system change is needed to make a large impact to save the planet.
Another level of engagement is to push for climate action actively. This could involve writing letters to the council or government, attending council meetings, coming to a climate strike, or engaging with activist groups. Another simple way to engage is simply to vote. We do not have this power, and we rely on those older than us to hear us and agree, voting for the better of our environment. While we, the public, have a role to play, we must also understand that we can only do so much, and meaningful differences require system change. As Tairāwhiti Environment Youth and SSFC Gisborne, we have big plans for the rest of the year. As we head back to school soon, we will come back together, ready to hit hard. On the national team, we have been discussing potential strike dates, and following this decision, we will begin the process of planning our local strike. We also aim to engage ourselves in the community more, spreading awareness and holding more social events, such as beach cleanups or tree planting. We will also continue to put pressure on the council to implement more ambitious goals and initiatives and to declare a climate emergency. Coming into the central government elections later this year, we'd also aim to focus the election around climate action and advocating for policies working to mitigate climate change and upholding our local and national SSFC demands. Coming away from the event today, we would also like to take all that we have learned and share it with the other members of our group and with the community, increasing the knowledge and understanding of the issues facing our region as a result of climate change. Through this, we hope to grow a community of people taking immediate action to fight climate change. As the rangatahi of our region, we also depend on you to take the actions needed in order to safeguard our future and those of the next generations here in Tairāwhiti. The decisions that you make
both today and in the near future, have the power to define the way that we will live for the rest of our lives. We stand here today to ask that each one of you do everything in your power to protect and honor our planet on which we depend. As a group of mostly high school students, we strike and protest because it is all we can do. We can't yet vote, so we must express our opinions through activism. So thank you everyone for having us today, and kia ora.